Hello, it's Nicolette, and I am an American living in France. I have been living in France for coming on 3 years now, and when I first moved here, there were obviously a lot of culture shocks, a lot of surprises, a lot of adjustments. But I recently found when I moved from the south of France to Paris that there is a whole other level of culture shocks and surprises that come with living in Paris. I honestly could do a whole video just on the general French culture shocks, but I wanted to get into the Paris specifics because, yes, you know what? Wherever you are in France, they smoke a lot. Also, anywhere you are in France, nothing happens bureaucratically between the hours of 12 and 2. That is solely for eating and smoking. But there are some things that are very, very Paris specific. So let's get into it and save you some surprises. Also, I do want to note that these are not necessarily culture shocks in the traditional sense of a culture shock. What this is things that were really surprising and very unexpected about living in Paris, about the city itself, and about daily life here. All right, the first thing I want to talk about is something that came out of total left field. Like, I was not considering this, wasn't on my mind, and it affects my daily life. Paris has incredibly hard water. Like, the mineral count of this water is through the roof. There is so much calcium and magnesium and a bunch of other minerals in the water. And it is visible. Like, you can see it in the water. I cannot leave water in my tea kettle because it will calcify. It will get little flakes of, I'm assuming it's calcium, at the bottom of the tea kettle. When I say this affects your daily life, it's not just because you can't leave water in the tea kettle, but it affects your skin and your hair. The first month that I was living here, I was like, what is up? Why is my hair and my skin suddenly so dull and dry and just not looking its best? Talked to a couple Parisians and they all agreed it's the water. So yeah, even if you're just visiting here as a tourist for a week or two, you're probably gonna see a difference in your hair and your skin, unless there is a special contraption on the shower where you were staying. I had to literally buy an entirely new shower head that had these special, I don't know, decalcifying things in it. It does something to the water, it softens it. So I had to put one of those on the shower, and then I also added one to my kitchen faucet to help alleviate this problem. And I did see a difference after I used those. Still cannot leave water in the tea kettle, but it has significantly softened the water. If you have ever visited Paris or have looked at a map of Paris, you might know that it is divided into 20 different arrondissements, or neighborhoods. Almost any conversation is going to begin with, what arrondissement do you live in? Or actually, more specifically, what I found is especially Parisians will not say what arrondissement they live in, they will say which metro stop they live by. That is how. They're like, oh yeah, I'm by Strasbourg Saint-Denis or Châtelet. Very Parisian. Also, there is a pretty distinct flavor between each arrondissement. It truly is its own neighborhood. It has its own vibe. There's a certain pride that comes with which arrondissement you live in. People have their opinions on different ones. So yes, which arrondissement you choose to live in will drastically affect and shape your social life. It will affect where you're spending most of your time. I guess I didn't realize how distinct each one is and how far apart they are and potentially isolating they are. For example, you live in the 18th and you have a friend in the edge of the 13th, you're not going to see them very often unless they are really, really die-hard friends and you have an appointment each week where you're going to see each other. You might not. I don't think I truly understood until I moved here how long it takes to get from one side of Paris to the other. This is an hour affair, and it's gonna take multiple metros. There will be a metro change, and that is what does it. If where you need to go to involves a metro change, the likeliness of you going there drastically, it just it drops. It's ooh, sorry. If it's a straight shot, if you're just on the same metro for 35 minutes, it feels so much closer than if you are doing a 45-minute journey that involves changing a metro. Up next, the extreme lack of nature, specifically untouchable grass and trees. Paris has beautiful parks throughout the entire city. They have trees, grass, flowers, shrubbery, statues, fountains, they've got it all, okay? But there is a reason the grass and the flowers look so incredible at all of these Parisian parks, and it is because you cannot touch it. Paris parks love fences. Everything is fenced off. There is a clear divide. There are also oftentimes signage, clear signage that says you cannot sit on or touch the grass. You can pull up one of the chairs next to the grass and look at the grass, but you cannot sit on it. After a few months of living here, I woke up one day and was like, wait a second, when was the last time I touched grass? Not even sat on it, but just like touched grass. And I realized it had been, I think, a solid 2 months, which is shocking and not healthy. Inevitably, when you live in a large metropolitan area, your connection to nature is pretty cut off. And I am super thankful for all of the beautiful parks here, but it's very difficult to find a place where you can actually interact with nature. Paris does have Bois de Boulogne, which is a large wooded area with parks in it and small walking trails. So if you were seeking nature, that is where to go. You can absolutely sit on the grass, lean against a tree. Don't go there at night though. Don't go there after the sun is set. Some sketch stuff happens in Bois de Boulogne. Okay, update, because while I was editing this video, I realized that Parc Montserrat in the 14th Arrondissement, you can absolutely sit on the grass there. It is a glorious, beautiful park. Highly recommend. It's just very far away from me, so I completely forgot about it because I don't go there very often. Also, if you know of any other parks in Paris where you can sit on the grass, please let me know in the comments. Thank you. If you are trying to get on a metro during rush hour, oh boy, it genuinely looks like a can of sardines. You are going to be pushed up against other people on every angle. I've been in a Paris metro at rush hour and been squeezed against someone on all sides. You have to oftentimes wait for another metro to come by because you physically cannot enter the metro car because that is how impacted it is. I'm not using the metro as often as I thought I would because if it is between the hours of, I'm gonna say 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., unless I really have to, I'm not voluntarily getting on a metro. Also in the morning between 7:30 and 9:30, that's also going to be impacted. Yeah, it's not a pleasant experience, and if you can avoid it, avoid it. They even have signs posted all around the metro being like, if you really don't need to take the metro at these hours, please don't take the metro. It's a thing. Also, once you get used to and know the different metro lines, you can kind of figure out ways to avoid the rush hour or at least reduce it. For example, if you can get to where you need to go with either the 4 or the 12, you should probably take the 12. 4 has multiple train stations on it. It's going to be busy. You're also getting, people with large suitcases that are trying to get to a train station. So those lines, not as pleasant. So, taking the less popular metro lines or taking the bus. I've noticed that the bus is usually less crowded than the metro during peak hours. It's also above ground, which is nice. You get to look out at the scenery. Metro is a beautiful thing, but it is not a beautiful thing during rush hour. All right, next up is how easy it is to not speak French here. I've met so many people that have been living here for a while, for months, for years even, who still don't know French. They don't know French beyond an A1, maybe an A2 level, and they are living their daily life, and it's totally fine. You're probably listening to this and maybe you're like, so what's the big deal? This sounds amazing. I can go to Paris, I can live in Paris and not know French. But this is kind of a double-edged sword. While on one hand, it's amazing that you can do that, it's also incredibly easy to become isolated in the English expat bubble. One of the things that I loved about living in Toulouse was that not only was I able to improve my French drastically because of my daily French interactions, but I also really felt like I was able to integrate with the city and the locals and get to know French people. It just felt more of a community. Here in Paris, I have found communities, but they're mostly expat communities and we're speaking in English. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's really easy to live in an Anglophone expat bubble here. You know, that might be what you're looking for. But I think I don't know, it's saddening to me because when I first moved here, I experienced such an incredibly rich, beautiful, new language and culture and met so many amazing people as a result. You know, people who do not know English. And it just opened so many more doors and led to so many beautiful experiences. And if you move directly to Paris from an English-speaking country, yes, you're going to be able to hit the ground running and live your life still in that language pretty much. It closes you off from so many other beautiful opportunities and also from feeling fully, totally integrated in this new country and new language. Also, I will say, all the administrative stuff definitely still needs to be in French. They're not going to speak English. I went to the prefecture a few days ago, fully in French. They're not going to speak English to you, okay? I mean, maybe if you're like really nice and look really lost. All that stuff, like when I'm calling the energy company, anything like that, it's all in French. So that level of your life, that area of your life is going to be difficult if you don't speak French. So I do want to mention that. FranceChannel is a single platform where you can find French movies, TV shows, documentaries, and news. It's basically like the mega Netflix of French content. And everything on their platform is subtitled in both French and English, so it's a fantastic tool for learning French. Also, what's really cool is that their platform is curated by actual French people who have worked in media and film and TV, so they know what's good and they put it on there. They have some fantastic movies on this platform, but I've also really been enjoying their like short series. So they have ones on like trails in the Pyrenees. They have a ton about Paris, different places in Paris. So those are really fun because they're these like short bite-sized things where you're able to practice French, but also be learning about French culture and different places in France. And what's even more exciting is that I have a discount code for you. If you use the code HELLO15, you can save 15% off either a monthly or yearly subscription. They also have a 7-day free trial, so you can give it a go and see if it's for you. All right, well, that's all I have for you today. There are so many other things I could go into in detail and probably make entire separate videos about. If there is a topic or something you want to know more about, please leave a comment in the comment section of this video. Just give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more. That's all for now. Au revoir.